for being here with the customers, absolutely. And just because I'm here 7 days a week.
Yeah.
We're closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, but I'm still here, and people get to see me behind the bar, see me in the brew area, and get to talk to me. But yeah, those guys are always accessible to me.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, you're the guy.
Yeah.
Now. Like, I think I'm gonna say that. Like,
Thanks.
You're the guy that explains it. You're the guy that
I
contextualizes it. Yeah. John Allen, how are you doing?
I'm well, Rob. How are you?
Good. So we are here in your new brewery.
Yes. Yeah, we been open about 4 months. We're a Mile High Beer Project located in Prescott. And it's been a good first 4 months just getting the word out about the brewery. And we released our first beer last Saturday. Just some issues along the way, getting equipment dialed in, getting the glycol system going. Had a couple little snafus with the glycol and electrical, but we're brewing now.
Well, let's talk about this first beer. I'm having the blonde.
Yes, and that's what I'm having as well. It's Take Care of Yourself and Each Other. It's American Blonde, 5.2% alcohol, 26 IBUs, 2-row, honey malts, white wheat, Willamette at 60 minute, and then I think Mosaic at 10 minutes, and just USO5 yeasts. And so far, so good. I feel like it's been a fairly good reception for our first beer, and just dialing in the system.
What was the thought process behind the choice of having a blonde ale? Was it something that you just felt like was going to be popular right off the bat in Prescott? Or
Prescott is, I think, historic, has been a very blonde heavy town. I know there's other breweries in town that also do it, and it sells very well for them. And I think one of my previous breweries, Granite Mountain Brewing, we sold a lot of blondes because really weren't set up to do lagers then.
Right.
And I just think the town thoroughly enjoys blonde. I think this one leans kind of lagerish.
Yeah. It has a lighter body.
Yeah.
As with anything that's an ale, it can get kind of thick.
Yeah.
Or sticky, and this is not that.
Yeah, and we're still kind of a cowboy town, and they want their light domestic lagers, and I feel like this meets the need without tying up the tank for 6 weeks.
Sure, and I've heard a lot of brewers say they would prefer something lighter without a lot of hops, just to get their system dial in and take the take the damage up front and understand that. But so you mentioned Granite Mountain. So you've been brewing for how long then?
Believe I started in 2012 at Lonesome Valley Brewing in Prescott Valley. Kind of got into the homebrew game and quickly found myself as an assistant brewer with Lonesome, and worked there for a number of years, and got started a homebrew shop. Felt like the town needed a homebrew shop, and did that for a while, and then ended up leaving there and going to Granite Mountain, and I was there a number of years until they sold. And when I left there, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. Like, my other career is I work in healthcare, and I wasn't sure if I was going to go back to school to keep working up in healthcare, or what I was going to do. And then an opportunity came to teach brewing science at Yavapai College, and thought that would be kind of interesting, and trying to help the next generation of brewers. And was there for about 2 years, and unfortunately they closed that program. And then an opportunity came up. The old brewer Jan Brown at Prescott Brewing reached out to me about Brown Bag taking over the old Prescott Brewing location. So I went in there and helped launch that, and was there for a few months and just wasn't the right fit for me. And the old equipment from Granite Mountain became available, and was able to purchase that and started looking for a spot. And we were working on one initial spot that ultimately didn't work out, but I think for the best, because we were able to get this spot. And spent a couple months working on the lease and everything, and then came the city, and that was a holdup of well over 8 months.
Sure.
And working through all of that, but we finally got open, and we've been open since March the 4th, and it's been great. I just, for years, have wanted a brewery in Prescott, and I've always kind of looked, and then something would get in the way, finances or whatever it may be, and finally was able to pull the trigger and do this.
Yeah, it's at one point in Prescott's history, it would be like, you can't open a brewery there. There's too many.
Yes.
There was, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 at one point. And they weren't all stepping all over each other. They were in various parts. I mean, Prescott Valley, definitely, it's 30 minutes from here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if you're trying to get around town, it's distinct enough that there's that. And then I remember Black Hole. They were the other direction, and of course Prescott has been here forever. Lonesome Valley, again, that's on the other side of the courthouse, man. That's for tourists. That could
Yes.
be. They have to intentionally walk down that way.
Yep.
So it is an interesting situation that you kind of landed in now. I think you kind of own the downtown now.
Yeah. And there's us, Lazy G, and Wren House Prairie Patio, the production for Wren House.
Sure. I mean,
And-
that's like at the airport.
Correct.
And it's
out there. And then otherwise, the closest brewery is Smeltertown in Clarkdale.
yeah.
And so there's definitely a need for probably 5 more between us, Prescott Valley, Chino. There's
there was
a
Chino,
need.
yeah.
And so yeah, it's kind of a black hole for breweries right now.
Yeah.
But I think some amazing breweries that we do have here.
Yeah. No, I would enjoy the elbow room you have right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
And so you just also did a collaboration beer, right?
Yeah, we
That would actually be what I would like next, if you don't mind, the IPA, please.
IPA?
Yeah.
Okay?
yes, thank you. Yes, Jake, the head brewer from Wren House, reached out to me and Travis from Lazy G to see if we wanted to collaborate on their 11th anniversary beer, and wanted to do a West Coast IPA. The patio is set up to run on RO water, but the city of Prescott has amazing water. And so, but pretty much I think almost every beer they brew there is RO, and so he wanted to do this one with city of Prescott water, traditional West Coast, and then I believe the hops on this is Citra, Idaho 7, and Nelson.
So these are beautifully clear beers. Are you filtering?
This is Biofine.
Biofine. Okay. I mean that because I remember the system. And it seems like filter would be a kind of a big deal. But this is superior. I mean, I don't know. Keep it up, man.
Yeah. Oh, that one was brewed at Wren House.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
but
Oh,
this
yeah.
one is
That
this
makes
one is
sense.
me and Biofine.
Gotcha. Yeah, this has got a nice little head to it. So you had that brew day, and tell me what that was like.
It was a day that I was off from the hospital, and I had planned to do 2 batches here that day, being optimistic and that everything would run smooth with the equipment. I would be able to get 2 batches done. And then Jake reached out to me and said, we're going to do this tomorrow, 6 a.m. And so got over there, started the brew process, and got that beer. I left during the whirlpool, and then I came over here and brewed our first beer, the blonde. And it was one of, I think, 3 beers I brewed that weekend. And so it was kind of a marathon.
Yeah.
And so coming in here and firing up the system and trying to dial everything in as you're brewing, it ended up being a lot longer day than I had thought. But
Yeah.
it was still rewarding after the 15 months of work to get this place open, to finally be able to brew our first beer. And I know a lot of people, they come in, what beer do you have? And it's like, well, we have an amazing guest tap list right now. And it's like, well, we'll come back when your beer's on. So as much as I needed to be brewing sooner, we just ran into a lot of issues.
Yeah. No, we can get into that in a little bit, but I know people feel that way, and I know some brewers feel that way. I think it's important personally to get the doors open, make sure your staff is trained, get your draft lines going, get an understanding of how the day's going to go. And it forces you to try different beers. A lot of brewers aren't, like, they brew their own beers, but they don't order them. They don't work with the distribution systems, the deliveries. It's kind of important to understand that, to get a firsthand view of that, because then when you're on the other side and you're selling to and you're having deliveries, I think it informs you as a business a lot to do that. And I'm sure people ask you about those other beers, and you have to give them you bought it, you brought it into the place, so obviously you like it, but it really forces you to sell that beer that you didn't brew,
Absolutely. And there's so many great breweries in Arizona, and it helped us to kind of see the beers that sell here.
Yeah.
Obviously, hazies, West Coast IPAs sell here. Ambers sell great here, and then there's been a huge push with hefts and lagers.
Yeah.
And so kind of we know what's going to sell, and we were actually able to find a saison keg, and it sold quickly.
Yeah.
And so it's like there's still that need for those Belgian style beers, and give us a taste of what Prescott wants.
Yeah, I think to bite off on a saison sometimes is a big risk. And by the way, I still remember the saison you did at Brown Bag. It was very good, and I'll have to update you after we're done here. I'll tell you about some of the beers I had in Asheville during the homebrew conference, both amateur and some of the business out there. There's a lot of lower alcohol beers. They're done very well, and some of them were even wood aged. They weren't barrel aged, they were wood aged. They used the staves. There's a lot of fun things you can do at that lower alcohol and still have full flavor.
And that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to, being a 3-barrel system here, is that we get to have those one-off experiments, split off batches. I have a few different mini brights, and just be able to have fun. And it's not like I'm cranking out a 20-barrel experimental.
Right.
And it's like if it's not well received here, well, it's something else for me to drink.
Yeah, that's just it. Back to the guest taps. It's like your commitment is one keg.
Yep.
Not a whole lot of raw ingredients, and maybe some specialty malts or hops or yeast you're never going to use again. So, the Prairie tap room or the
Patio.
The Prairie Patio, but the actual brewery.
Yeah.
That was formerly Prescott's Prescott Brewing's production brewery. Had you brewed in that place before ever?
No, I would just go out. Jan Brown, the former head brewer for PBC. He's
Yeah.
a great friend and a great knowledge base.
Sure.
He was trained at Siebel. John Nelson, the owner of PBC, sent him to Siebel, and he was just a great source of information when I was a younger brewer.
Yeah.
And because I always want to try to brew the best beer possible, and sometimes questions arise, and he would always answer them for me.
Yeah.
I never got a chance to brew out there, but I would just go out there often just to talk to him.
Sure. The reason I bring that up is because that was like one of the first statewide collaboration beers was there for the Yarnell 19.
Yes.
And that's the coming together of that sort of was one of the first collective things that the guild wanted to do, is because the smaller breweries were restricted from selling that beer because you couldn't sell other breweries' beer even if you collaborated on it. And we, at that time, they worked around it, but that was like one of the first things that we tackled at the guild when I got hired on. And I remember it was all done by email, which you can understand would be very, very sloppy with the reply alls and all that stuff. So people got upset with each other because, you know, it was, people weren't used to using email. And so like I was on that string, and I would just sort of give a synopsis and also not reply all. So
Yes.
you know, coming from the information, you know, industry, you know, like it was just different. So that, I think that connected me with a lot of brewers right off the bat.
Yeah, and I didn't have it. I didn't have anything to do with that beer, but
No,
went
but I
to-
mean, I just wanted to,
Yeah.
that the fact that they immediately called you to do collaboration sort of speaks to the energy of that building. And you know, Prescott Brewing Company in particular. I know sometimes if you're not from the area, they could be a little, they could be seen as a little rough around the edges when it comes to working together.
Yes.
But that was coming from the heart, and so you know that speaks to Prescott, I think. You know.
I did get to go and try a few of those beers, the 19 at Prescott Brewing, and it was fantastic beers. Obviously a rough time in Prescott, but did get to collaborate several times at the downtown location
Right.
with Granite Mountain and Lonesome Valley and Insurgent, and we made some pretty good beers there as collabs back for Arizona Beer Week.
Do you still stay in touch with any of those former brewery people? I know at least a couple of them left the area, but
John and Jan have been in a few times.
Yeah.
Rob from Insurgent was in here a couple weeks ago, and I saw Jeff Hart, who's now with Grand Canyon, but formerly of Lonesome. We brewed a couple beers together.
Yeah.
I saw him up at Real Wild and Woody in Flagstaff last weekend, and that was a great event.
I thought it was a good change of scenery, not to sort of make the obvious point. It's on the ski hill.
The best scenery for a brew festival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole world of difference drinking at 9,500 feet than it is at 8,000.
Yes, and just the scenery there for a brew festival. It's better than a parking lot.
It would be kind of fun to get some of those guys come and brew a beer with you. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that a proposition on the table right now?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyone wants to come to Prescott and hang out,
Yeah.
I'm down for it. And like I've done outside of Rent House, I've done a collaboration with Simple Machine, and we did a Pilsner, and it turned out great. And so I'm always interested in doing collaborations because I'm always trying to learn more.
Sure. And that again, this goes back to the Yarnell 19. It was called Heroes 19. That collaboration beer. When breweries are opening, I said, well, all right. So if you don't want to outright buy church music because for whatever reason, even though you enjoy the beer, you think it's going to somehow down the road interfere with your business. I think that was a kind of a thought that people had. Well, if people like this, then I'll never be able to X, Y, and Z. And like, well, you could also collaborate with these other breweries, and that really opened it up. So I remember several breweries just like literally, even after they started up, like a piece of equipment goes down, like literally, like I just collaborated with like 10 different breweries to keep my pipeline going, and I think that was the spirit of the change. And I think as we lose breweries and as things get leaner, as supply chains change, my wish for breweries is to not just get together when it's fun, get together ahead of that, or get together when you do have a crisis. Like, hey, I'm completely out of this. I know it's just traditional for us to ask for a box or two of hops, but maybe let's just make something together. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, yesterday I was called by Lazy G looking for glycol.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I didn't have enough for them.
Right.
But they got it figured out. But it's always, I always say that this is the only industry that I've ever been in where it's not competition, it's collaboration.
Right.
It's like, hey, do you have a bag of white wheat? Sure.
Yeah.
But,
or is anyone going down to Marana anytime soon?
Yeah.
Because, I'm glad you mentioned glycol though, because if anyone remembers the Granite Mountain system, they didn't use anything jacketed, and they used the adiabatic cooling. And as the climate changes, I don't think that's something you can rely on. So
no, and so I took we did have 2 7-barrels that were glycol controlled, and then we had 3 3-barrel single wall fermenters that we call them the dresses, and we'd spray them down with water and ice, and I'd go in every morning at 6 a.m. to check temperatures, ice beer, spray
this
them
is
down.
at Granite Mountain.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then so now with stout tanks, they have glycol lids that drop in, so those 3-barrel fermenters are all now glycol controlled.
That's something I didn't realize was a change in technology. That's very cool.
So it was a little bit more of a learning curve of how to create these 3-barrel fermenters to be glycol controlled.
Yeah.
Because I do have a whole nother career, and it's like, do I have time to be in here icing things down in the morning? Probably not. And so then that way I can, though I'm still kind of a little bit neurotic and want to come in and make sure the temps are okay, the glycol's okay, but at least I'm not spending the time to ice everything down and waste water resources. And
Sure, yeah. No, it's that's glad to hear. I'm sure that's going to add to the clarity and the
we don't have the roller coasters of temperatures and the taking a chance of creating beers with off flavor.
Right. So you're not automatically a Saison brewery accidentally.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So what's on the brew schedule coming up, or what's in the tank, and what can we expect?
We have a West Coast IPA in the Bright right now, and have a Amber Porter Hazy in the tanks, and then
Wait, those are like different beers, right?
Yeah.
I was like,
not all together. But yeah, we have an amber, which for us is an alt beer.
Right.
And I love alt beers. I just don't know that they sell well.
Yeah.
So I call it an amber. And
well, that's it. I mean, amber is, because let's be honest, blonde means a lot of different things too.
Yep.
Ska blonde is different than Scottsdale blonde, and and in fact, at the competition level, they win different awards.
Correct.
Right? So is yours an American blonde, or is it, we're just calling it blonde, but it's really a pseudo lager? Or
I'm calling it American blonde, USL 5, fermented at 68 degrees. And
back when I was a homebrewer, I would have been able to remember that recipe and go, okay, I know what it is. But those days are gone.
Sadly, I still remember all the recipes from Granite Mountain. I think I just brewed them so many times.
Yeah.
That they just kind of stuck with me. So I'm calling it that. I don't think it veers towards English or anything like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And then I'm sorry, the amber is an alt,
yep. And
which
then
which I feel that sells to a different crowd.
correct.
So somehow you got to get the same message across with the beer.
Yep.
I think there are people who wouldn't get caught dead with an amber because they're thinking 90s brew pub. Again, sticky, you know, but an alt beer suggests, oh, this is supposed to approximate a lager, a darker lager.
Yep.
It's drier. Yeah, I mean, you'll see breweries play around with putting the word alt in there or not. So that sort of like satisfies the Prescott crowd a little bit, right?
Correct. Yeah, there's still a huge call for ambers and porters, and they want dark beers year round.
Right. It's funny because I had some of the most delicious Helles beers I've had in the last couple months, and I mean, honestly, Helles could have had the same. If lagering were as prevalent as ale brewing in our history, like Helles could be an overused term. For gosh sake, light beer was the subhead on Miller Lite, Lite, was a fine American Pilsner beer, and like it didn't pull Pilsner from being cool for the cool kids.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's one of the things. I just throwing it out there for anyone who's like, oh, amber. Like, ambers can be cool.
Yes. And
So I'm sorry, amber and then hazy and
a robust porter.
robust porter.
Yep.
Yeah, we've got a history of winning robust porters in the state, or porter for sure. So when you say robust, hone that in for me.
I think that's the BJCP category for it, is robust porter. But I'm trying to remember the recipe right now, but I know it's
Well, there's brown porter. There's Carnegie porter. There are a lot of different things, but is it going to have a lot of roast? Not a lot of roast. Chocolatey.
chocolate, and then Northern Brewer for the hops, USO5, two-row. Munich.
I guess because depending on whether you're following BGCP or marketing or the World Beer Cup or whatever, you know, somewhere in there, porters are like stouts but not stouts. So how different would it be from a stout?
I think it's not as roasty.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
So you're going more chocolate.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't recall that there's roasted barley. I think it's Carafa 3 in there.
Yeah, and that's just a coloring.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So those are on tap, and then I interrupted you because you had another thought about beers in the future. I mean, how many? You've got one of your beers created here. You've got one collaboration. What's the schedule for having a more full? Hey, this is Mile High. This is who we are.
Tomorrow we should release our West Coast IPA. Early next week we'll release the Amber and start rolling them out, and then looking at, in the close future, a Hef, ESB.
Yep.
My ultimate goal is that here sooner than later we'll have a beer engine, because I'd like to do cask, Saison, and I believe there's one other one, I just can't recall it right now. And so my goal is to have a dedicated cask line. I have a bunch of firkins that I've acquired over the time, and then we will also have 2 dedicated nitro taps.
Nice.
So some of these beers I will offer some.
So how many taps do you have right now? I mean, how many total taps?
I could do 20.
20. Oh, okay. All right.
I don't plan on keeping that many, but I also would
Right.
like to continue to keep the fun guest taps.
Sure.
If a brewery puts out a
Right.
fun beer, and then a dedicated sour line.
Okay. I'm excited about the cask ale. And that is something that you got to slow roll up because there's nothing worse than being the only cask drinker at a brewery that hasn't sold one over the weekend, or and like all of a sudden like, oh, this is already. And I'm going to tell you that happens even at bigger breweries, even back in the day when they had a cask run. But I know the guys at Ash, and I know they're very excited about maintaining that tradition.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make a bold claim. There's Wren House that clearly has the most, and has the cask mark signature. They have 4 on all the time. Ash has 2 working of the same caliber beer engines, and they'd like nothing less than to be in the mix in terms of, because like they always want to have one on. Now that when you have that equipment, you always like want to have something on. And of course, the temptation to keep a homebrewed cask ale on longer than it should be eliminated if we could just like, hey, like I'm the likely candidate. Rob, can you pick up this cask on the way back from Flagstaff? I'd love to do that. It's just kind of a bellwether that when cask went away and then Wren House stepped up, and I think Ash has put it out there. I haven't been to Setup in a long time. I know they were a vanguard of it for a long time, but it would really be nice to have all of a sudden a little network.
Because back in the day with Lonesome Valley, we had one beer engine, and sometimes we were rotating 4 5-gallon kegs through there a night, and there was just there's that market there, but they can't be sitting around for very long.
For everyone who doesn't know, beer engine is a way to dispense cask ale, and it's a hand pump. It's got a sparkler, and that's what creates the foam. And when we talked about nitro taps, that is a new technology way to approximate cask ale, and that's why Guinness was so successful worldwide. There's no way, even in this day and age, that they could deliver these live cask ales and have that same experience. So it's a good use of technology, but I for one would love to have cask Guinness. Instead, they're different. They're not. I don't. Qualitatively, they're only better than one another if you can get both all the time. Like the cask thing is rarer, but you can go to a lot of different places that you'd never expect to have a good beer experience. And whether you like Guinness or not, you have to say it's a good beer experience, because it's a different piece of equipment than any other beers generally use, and they do training, and a brewery like Left Hand had great success in taking over those handles with their stout. So it's an opportunity. It's just like a different TV channel, right? That we're over here, and you can see I'm super excited.
Yes, there's definitely passion there.
Yeah. Because ultimately, one of my favorite beers is Timothy Taylor Landlord, and I have one brewery that wants to make it with me, and I would love to say, hey, I made this, check it out. I would love to have that beer be a, not me making it, but just like, hey, this is, because everyone's used to stouts on cask and IPAs on cask, and I don't think IPAs are the medium, honestly. But people have been doing dark milds, which is delicious, but just to get a decidedly pale ale, not something that competes with IPA, it's just something malt driven and a little snap a hop, that's the one I could just keep drinking and drinking and drinking. So sorry, this is just about me now.
No, but I agree, and we plan on brewing the ESBs, the English milds, the ordinary bitters.
Yeah. Well, you're doing an ESB.
Correct.
I don't want to forget about that. because that has it was a touchstone for a lot of brewers, and that style has gravitated quite a bit. You're familiar with the fact that Sierra Nevada won the ESB category with the pale ale.
Yep.
And so I think there was a big reset about that. Although we'll see next beer cup. It didn't. We don't know if they entered it or not again. But they were saying, "Hey, we're getting these notes," and so we decided to enter this instead. And it just shows you how things gravitate. I mean,
and I
clearly it's a great beer no matter what. But
Yeah.
also a lot of people have strong feelings like it shouldn't have won. There are some people who are like saying it's a flaw. I'm like, it's just it's a language reset, right?
And I think that as much as we all still love Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, there's been a big shift in pale ales more towards New Zealand and XPAs, and I'll still drink a Sierra Nevada any chance I get on draft, but there's just such a shift, and I think within brewing, like, how do I take this beer, which I think is fantastic, and put it in a category?
Yeah.
And so, good on Sierra Nevada for figuring out that we could put it in this category, because as much as we all still love the original pale ale,
Right.
it's shifted like so much with New Zealand hops, and
Well, that was the argument. It was like, we're using American hops, and things are going to shift that way.
Yeah.
And like, the only knock on it was the color, allegedly. But there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
But that should have been the dead giveaway, that this is not an ESB by design. But I'm not gonna. There's probably 8 people who spent 30 years drinking and evaluating beers, and I shouldn't really put myself on the final table there, but for that. But it's interesting because it's another beer that I hope comes back. There's an amazing discussion if you listen to John Hall with Lady Justice and first of all, their whole charitable brewing business, and also their ESB. And I just was at a brewery in South Carolina or North Carolina that had an ESB, and I can't tell you how good it was, but it was 6%, which is a little high, but it was also not the way this brewer brews, because they had all kinds of very low strength beers. That's something I'll talk to you offline about, because I have some thoughts about that, and I gotta bounce it off some other brewers. I had a great experience at Griffin and Sphinx, and the former brewer Wayne Wambles from Cigar City, with low alcohol beers and wood, and but he had the 8%, the 6% at ESB. I'm like, this is really high, man.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the board. He's telling me all these stories. I don't know. It just goes to show you, though. We can talk all we want about styles, but the customer walking in is just looking for an amber or a blonde or something that they understand, and then inevitably maybe they learn a little bit more, and maybe they understand some more of the terminology. It's like we're teaching people to speak our language, and sometimes we've got to take a step back.
Yep. Yeah, one of our things here is beer education, and it's something that I'm passionate about, and teaching, and certified Cicerone, and just want to teach. So we're going to start later in July with a Beer 101 history, production of beer, ingredients, and then going into Beer 102, which is beer styles and stuff like that, and teaching some home brewing, extract and all grain. But it's our job to try to teach brewing, not just hand you a beer. And
so yeah, I mean, you went from the student to the teacher, literally, and you've literally worked at almost every licensed place here, more or less. I mean, I know you haven't, but where does this come from? Like, where does this desire to sort of do what you do come from? take it outside of the whole brewing industry. Like,
Yeah, I think I've always just been probably inquisitive and always wanting to learn more, and always just trying to research and read, and that's how I kind of came into healthcare, and I've been doing healthcare for probably 28 plus years.
so now, but half of that you've also been brewing,
Yeah,
right? 14 years.
Yeah, 16, coming up on 16.
Okay, yeah.
And it for me was kind of the passion of the science,
Right.
and being an artist was kind of important to me, but also brewing was my escape from my full-time job. So I had quiet time. I didn't have to deal with insurance companies
Right.
and patients and families, and I could just come in and try to create something the best I could.
Understanding that, I'm sure ultimately you want to have this be your full-time job.
That would be nice.
Do you see a point where you're going to be like, man, I just got to get out of the brewery, go back to my other job for a while to sort of reset, or no?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Like, if a time comes when I can do beer full time,
Yeah.
that would be great. But
You'll have different coworkers and you'll have different
Yeah.
work experiences. That's all I'm sort of
Yeah.
referring to. Like, do you think you would ever miss that, or? I don't think they're tuning in right now to this podcast.
No, they're not tuning in. Just the amount of documentation and the stuff that you deal with in healthcare.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would really miss that. And most of my coworkers come here to hang out anyways. So there's a good therapy, nurse, doctor crowd at this brewery.
Sure.
So
So when it comes to beer, and the people you grew up with and the people you know, were you the guy that knew all this stuff and sort of wanted to introduce them to all this stuff, or
no, I still think I'm learning all the time. And
even among your friends and stuff?
um,
Are all your friends beer doctors?
well, they do know a fair amount. I guess I have been teaching them, and it's but I never feel like I know enough.
Right.
So, and people, like, I hate when people say, "Oh, are you the brewmaster?" I'm like, no, because I don't know. I don't feel like I'll ever master it, but I just always want to be learning more. And then I have great resources between Travis at Lazy G and Jake at Wren House. Like, if anything comes up or I just question it, I just call them.
Sure.
And they always answer, because they're great friends.
And listen, as well known as those brewers are, as meddled as Travis is, and understanding, production like they do over at Wren House. I think you're like the most accessible guy in that trio, right? Like, to talk to, and
For being here with the customers, absolutely. And just because I'm here 7 days a week.
Yeah.
We're closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, but I'm still here, and people get to see me behind the bar, see me in the brew area, and get to talk to me. But those guys are always accessible to me.
Yeah. But I mean, you're the guy.
Yeah.
Now. Like, I think I'm gonna say that. Like,
Thanks.
you're the guy that explains it. You're the guy that
I try.
contextualizes it. Yeah.
So just trying to, and I'm still a very active member of our local homebrew club and stuff with, I used to be the education director for that, and I'm still a part of that, but still active with our homebrew club because I just love and believe in beer.
Yeah.
And
we got to get you down for an ASH meeting and do a little talk, because I think I think one of the shows we were talking about the sort of the crisis that we're having is like, there's not an everyday face of homebrew anymore because of the lack of homebrew stores.
Correct.
We literally have one in a city of 5 million people, a little bit to the south of you guys. I don't know if you heard of it. It's called Phoenix.
Yeah. Been there once or twice.
Like, how do we get another generation? I'm at the point where, like, we've invested so much in the movement and the club, and I want to make sure that it gets down to somebody who's, 10 years old right now. Eventually, I want to give them the option to, have a fermentation experience if they so desire. So like that's the big thing as our club gets older, is how do we hand this off? So
Yep.
listen, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's, I think, with a lot of different hobbies and professions, it's like getting it to the next generation.
Yeah.
And I believe we are in the greatest time of our lives for beer.
Yeah.
And you can go to anywhere and get amazing beer, and especially imports. A lot of people started homebrewing because they couldn't get those beers
Right.
they had in Germany and Europe when they were stationed there, but now you can get them. But there's just something to be said about making a fresh loaf of sourdough or a fresh batch of
Right.
beer and keeping that hobby going, because to me it's the greatest hobby
The
there
level
is.
of general knowledge is much higher than it's ever been. The amount of beer styles and variety of beers is still there. It's even as we lose breweries, I think in some respects, the home brewers and the craft brewers brought the level up, and so now it's just figuring out what the next step is. And I'm glad you mentioned sourdough, because there were people baking bread in the 50s that weren't necessarily making sourdough, they were making bread. And then when mass production took over, like nobody made bread, and it was, like, come on, like I'll eat a piece of Wonder Bread in certain situations, but you peel the crust off and you could take the bread and you can roll it back into dough. I mean, there's something weird going on there, and that's something, that Garrett Oliver noticed in the whole slow food movement. But I'm glad you understand that we've got the torch and we got to hand it off, and I think you're the guy to do it here in Prescott. I'm out of beer, and also when I drive up to a brewery, I drink coffee and water. I had 2 beers. I gotta make room for another beer. But
Understood.
thank you so
Well,
much, John.
Thank you so much for showing up. I appreciate you, Rob.
Yeah.
It's always been a pleasure seeing you.
Cheers.
Thank you. It's not a podcast about beer.
Oh,
It's not a beer podcast, it's a podcast about beer.
Oh man. All right. Well, it's on there.
Okay.
I'll fade the music out.
Okay.
You know the bylaws.
Oh yeah, I've listened to every single episode.
Well, then we're late.